Hi guys. Really want to get into postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression, postpartum panic attacks, because that is something that needs to be talked about more, and it's something that I struggle with every single day. And I had so many questions about it because everything that happened to me was so different than I thought it would. So I want to go into my story, and I want to just tell you guys about how long it took to kick in, how long it took to hit me, how I dealt with it, how I'm still dealing with it, because it is an ongoing struggle. I am by no means to the end of this. I am still battling it every single day, and I'm trying to find the things that work for me. And I'm trying to live a normal life, because it debilitates you. It really does. 3 months postpartum. And right now, at the point where I'm at, I'll have terrible days where I cannot go out. I can't leave the house. I can't be in a place with a lot of people. I can't be without Mike, and I can't be without family, because I just can't do it on my own. And that's something that was really hard for me to realize, and took a lot of time to set in, that I couldn't do it on my own, and that I needed the people around me to support me, because I'm one of those people that I'm very independent. I don't like to ask anyone for help. I don't like to seem vulnerable. I don't like to do things like this, like share my emotions, share my feelings. It's really hard for me. But through this journey, I realized that the only way that I was going to get through it is if I used the people around me for help and support. So many friends and so many members of my family watching this that have no idea that I'm going through this. So this is also just a way for me to share how I'm doing, and an update for my friends and my family. A lot of them do know, but a lot of them don't know. And if they do know, they don't really know the extent of it, which I'm going to get into now. I'm really going to try and get through this whole video without crying. But I'm very hormonal, I'm very emotional, and this is just a very, very sensitive topic for me, and it's very triggering, and it's hard. It's hard to make this video, not only to share my emotions like this and be so vulnerable, but also to talk about it, because when you talk about it, you think about it, and it puts these thoughts in your head. So I'm kind of going to start from the beginning of when I had my first panic attack, and how I dealt with that, and what my triggers are, and what works for me. So I think it was about a month ago. So I was 2 months postpartum, and that's when it started for me. The first month, I was completely fine. I was happy. I had no anxiety. I had completely thought that it just was not going to be a factor for me. Postpartum depression, anxiety wasn't going to affect me. And I didn't know that it could kick in late. I didn't know that how long it took to kick in, and how long it took to really affect you. I thought that once you had the baby, and maybe after a week or two, you would know that if you had postpartum depression, or if you had anxiety from it, or anything like that. But it took me longer, and that is the most surprising thing, I think, for me, or was for me. But I remember I was having a really bad toothache, and usually things like that, they'll annoy me, and maybe they'll give me a little bit of anxiety, but totally manageable anxiety. I can always get through things really easy. I'm really good at talking myself out of anxiety and out of depression and out of things like that. I struggled with that in the past when I was a freshman in high school. I went to therapy, and I had a whole journey with depression and anxiety, but I came back from it. And since then, I never had an issue with it. And my whole life, I've never really had a panic attack. Not like this, not a panic attack in the way that I'm going to explain it to you. I've had anxiety, and I've gotten myself really worked up, mental breakdowns, all that. Everyone has. But I've never had a full-blown panic attack. And so I didn't know what was happening to me. I was in bed, I had a toothache, and like for some reason, I just could not talk myself down from it. I was just snowballing and I was getting worked up, and I was thinking the worst. Like my mind was immediately going to like, oh my gosh, like my tooth is infected, it's gonna get into my jaw, it's gonna like get into my system, like it's gonna spread throughout my face, my like, and I was like starting to get like really in the anxiety, and I was totally letting it win because I didn't know what was going on. Like I didn't know why my brain was just immediately going to like the worst case scenario possible, because I'm not that type of person. I'm always the type of person that is more so like it's not really a big deal, like wake up tomorrow and go to a dentist. But for some reason like my mind just wasn't letting me get out of it. And then I started to convince myself that like my jaw was getting paralyzed and like that I couldn't move it and that it was just stuck. And I was terrified. Like I was so scared, and I didn't know what was happening to me. And I started not being able to breathe. And that's something that I've never experienced before either. And telling this is really embarrassing because unless you've gone through a panic attack, people are like, well, that's stupid. Like, why would you think you couldn't breathe? Why would you think your jaw was paralyzed? But if you've had panic attacks, you completely understand that like your mind goes to the worst case scenario possible. Like death is what you're thinking of. You think you're gonna die. It's just like the worst thing in the world. And so I got myself all worked up and I started not being able to breathe. And I was thinking that like it was because of my tooth hurting. Like I really thought that I had like an infection and that like it was spreading and that's why I couldn't breathe and that I was dying. I thought that I was dying, and I stood up and I started to walk around, and it didn't get any better. It was just getting worse. And the way that my panic attacks are is if I have a really bad one, my jaw will like chatter and it will feel like kind of paralyzed, like in here. Like I don't want to move it, and like it will shake and my body will shake, and my palms are always the first thing that I know that I'm getting one because they get really sweaty. I get really hot, like I start to take off my clothes, or like if I'm in the car, I turn on the air really high, and then I feel like I can't breathe, and I'm just like really fidgety. Like I can't just sit where I'm sitting. Like I need to stand up, I need to move. I get really dizzy, I get really lightheaded, probably because I'm not breathing right. And those are like how my physical symptoms are when I'm having a panic attack. I'll get really bad chest pain, like a burning in my chest, a tightness. I get like stabbing in my heart, and it's very, very much physical for me. It's very mental, but for me, the part that I have trouble dealing with is the physical aspects to it. Like it feels like I'm having a heart attack, and that is like the worst part about it, because I convince myself that I'm dying and that like something is going wrong with my body physically, but really it's just my panic attacks making my body feel that way and act that way. And so the first time I got it, I was with Mike and the baby, and it was night, and I was just freaking out, like I was losing it. And he is someone that has dealt with panic attacks and anxiety a lot and depression, so he knows, he's gone to therapy for it, he knows how to like get yourself out of it. And so he was just sitting there calming me down, making me breathe, you know, telling me the things to do and the things not to do. He always tells me not to like ball up. So he tells me that I need to be big, I need to be strong, because if I sit like this, which is how I like to sit, or if I ball up in bed and I get like consumed with it, and it kind of is worse for them. It's kind of worse during a panic attack to like ball up or scrunch up, because it tells your body that like your body's trying to say like you're in trouble, even though you're not. Your body thinks that you're in trouble, and it thinks that you're just sitting there and holding yourself when it really wants you to get up and move and get away from the situation. So he loves to tell me like the biological reasons for it. So he always tells me like, do not sit like that, stand up, breathe, and like the number one thing is to just try and convince yourself that you're not dying. And that's a hard thing to do, especially then, because it was my first panic attack. I was just freaking out, and it was just really hard for me. And so then is when I started to realize that physical injuries and physical pain is really what my triggers are for anxiety. So if I have a toothache, if I have like a pain in my arm, if I have a pain in my chest, those are things that heighten my anxiety. Those are the things that lead to my panic attacks. And you don't notice it as much when you don't have anxiety, but like you have random pains in your body like all the time. And when you have anxiety, you pay attention to every single one. And every time you feel one, it's just a loop, and and in my head at least, I'm like, something's wrong with me, like something is going on. And I've actually been to the hospital 3 times, because the first time I was on an antibiotic that made my chest really hurt. It caused like abdominal pain, so this whole area would really hurt and it would make it really hard to breathe. And it was just a side effect from my medicine, but not being able to breathe in chest pain is like the worst thing to have when you're going through these daily panic attacks and daily anxiety. So the first time I went to the hospital was because of that. And they checked my breathing, they did a blood test, they did all that, and they just kind of told me like, you're perfectly healthy, nothing's wrong with you. They gave me like a Xanax and just like put me to sleep. The second time I was in the hospital, it was in the middle of the day. Usually I had only been used to getting them at night, but I realized that being in the car is a trigger for me, because it's a very confined space, and the car is kind of warm when you get in it because of the sun. The sun is still warm, so you don't really need the air on. So I realized that being in the car without any windows down or anything was a trigger, because it makes it harder for you to breathe because you're just breathing in that same air. And so that was the second time I went to the hospital. I was in the car and I was still having really bad chest pain from that medicine, and it was really making my heart hurt, and like just this whole area hurt. And so I was like convinced that there was something wrong with my heart. And then I had just worked myself up so much that like it got really hot and I got stabbing pains in my heart, and I like started to freak out. I was like, Mike, I'm having a heart attack. I can't breathe. You need to get me to the hospital. And like, what is he gonna do? Like, even though he knows in the moment that it's just my anxiety, it's just my panic attacks, if something is wrong, like, he's gonna take me, because not only is it peace of mind, but obviously if something's wrong, that's where you want to be. So I went to the hospital. They checked my heart rate, they checked my blood and all that stuff again, and again they were like, you're perfectly healthy. And then that all was about, I think, 2 weeks ago, those 2 consecutive times I went to the hospital. And I'm kind of in between insurance right now. I've been waiting to get a psychiatrist because I don't want to pay out of pocket for it because it's so expensive. And so Mike has medication from when he had panic attacks. He doesn't get them anymore, but he has hydroxine. I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong. Hydroxyzine. And it's a very low dosage, and it's to take when you're having panic attacks, but it's not like a Xanax or anything like that that makes you like really drowsy and makes you like high. You don't get high from it, and it's not addictive. It just kind of like takes away your anxiety. First couple times I took them, it worked for me. I don't know if it was a placebo effect on my brain or like they actually did something, but now they do not work for me at all. If I take them when I'm having a panic attack, it does not help at all. My dad gave me something that is kind of like a Xanax that he had, but he only had 5 of them. So those really helped me, because they did get me more high, but like I feel like that my panic attacks are extremely severe. They are debilitating. And I get sometimes 3 a day, and even when I get one, it's so bad that I feel the effects for the rest of the day. Like, I'm never like normal again. And so stuff like Xanax and stuff is really like what I need in that moment right now, until I can learn how to manage them to calm me down. Nothing else will work for me. But like, I don't know if any of you have taken a Xanax, but if you take a Xanax, you do not care about one thing that is going on. You are just zoom in. And I don't take them often because I obviously know that they're addictive, and stuff like that. But that is what works for me medication wise when I have my panic attacks. Something that is strong like that is really honestly just going to put me to sleep. That's what I want when I get them. I'm very lucky that I have Mike and that I don't breastfeed, because I wouldn't be able to take these things if I was breastfeeding, and I wouldn't be able to breastfeed if I was on these things. So I'm very grateful that I have Mike to help me take care of the baby, because I honestly don't know. Like, I said I wasn't going to cry, but my heart really goes out to everyone, every mom out there that is a single mom and that is going through postpartum panic attacks, postpartum depression, anything, because it is so debilitating that I don't know how I would take care of my son. If I didn't have the help that I had here, then I don't know how I would get through it. I'm sorry. If I didn't have the help that I had with Mike's mom and my dad and my family and Mike, then I don't know how I would have gotten through it. And if I didn't have someone like Mike that had experienced these panic attacks and gone through all of this before, then I don't know how I would have known to get myself out of them and to get on the road to bettering myself and getting away from these. And I don't know. I think about this every single day, and I really don't want to cry, and I don't want to seem dramatic and like I'm just trying to do all this for attention, because I'm not. Like, this is something that I go through every single day and something that I think of every single day. All of the single moms, or anyone, even if you haven't had a baby and this isn't postpartum related, anyone that has panic attacks and anxiety and people that don't have people to go to, or maybe are too afraid to go to people, like, please reach out to me. If you see this and it's something that resonates with you, please hit me up or go see someone. It's so important, because I think the worst thing in the world is having a panic attack alone and not having anyone or anything to help you, and just having to try and get out of it yourself, because like I said, you feel like you're dying. And it's not even that you feel like you're dying, you mentally convince yourself that you're dying. So for me, I'm always like, the first thing I think is like, I need to go to the hospital. I have gotten better, but every day I wake up and think about when in that day, it sounds so terrible, but that I'm gonna die. And I think about my death and what would happen to Mike and what would happen to the baby and what would happen to the family. And it makes me like terrified. I'm scared like every single day when I wake up. But that's why I'm making this video, to show you guys things that I do to try and help myself. And I'm not anywhere far from it. Like, I still need to go see a psychiatrist. I still need to get on daily medication. I still need to find out ways to manage this. But I've gone through this for about 2 months now, and it is a hard journey. And if you do have like chronic symptoms like me, honestly, it sounds crazy, but going to the hospital helped me, because, you know, I got scans of my heart, scans of my lung, and even though I'm sure I'll regret this when I get the bill in the mail, it gave me peace of mind. And now I know when like I'm getting myself worked up and I feel these pains, nothing's wrong with me. Like, I'm perfectly healthy, and it's just the anxiety. And that made the death and thinking that I'm dying, which is the worst part of it, go away. Because like, I know that I'm healthy, I know that I'm strong, I know my heart's healthy, my lungs, I don't have any issues. So I know that it's just the anxiety, and then it's easier for me to tell myself it's just the anxiety, get out of it, it's gonna be over, just like breathe, relax, tell yourself that you're gonna be okay. So as crazy as it sounds, and maybe people will think you're crazy if you ask them to take you to the hospital or to the doctor, go get checked if you really think that something physically is wrong. Even in your heart, like me, I knew nothing was wrong with me, but just knowing from a doctor and getting tests done, knowing that there was nothing wrong with me, helped me so much to get out of them. It wasn't something that was real, like it was just my head. And so I wrote a list of some things to do during panic attacks to help you kind of calm down, and things to do every day to break the cycle and make sure that you don't have a panic attack that day. Because sometimes I wake up And I just have anxiety from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, and I'll have 3 panic attacks throughout the day and just be a complete mess. I can't leave the house, I can't be alone. And then I'll have days where I'm fine and I wake up happy, and I do things to keep me busy and occupied, and I'm just in a better headspace that day. And so I like to still do these things because I've had days like that where at night I still wind up getting a panic attack. So I do things throughout the day and throughout the night, and I know what works for me because I want to avoid it. I want to avoid it at all costs. And so I'll tell you what to do during panic attacks that helps me. Number 1 is breathing. It's hard for me to do the deep breath in, deep breath out, hold your breath for this long, breathe. Those don't work for me. Those end up making me feel lightheaded. So honestly, all I do is just close my eyes and just breathe normal. Just try and breathe normal. Maybe breathe in a little bit more and a little bit out. But if I hold and all that, I just wind up getting dizzy, and then I work myself up even more because I'm not breathing right. So I just kind of just try and breathe normal. That's what I do. I know that there's ones where Mike's mom told me about one where you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds. So definitely try those. If those work for you, great. But the breathing techniques don't really work too well for me. Something that works good for me during it is taking a walk or going outside, because you obviously feel like you can't breathe. So right now it's cold out. So it's a lot of fresh, crisp air. So that helps me breathe a lot because I'm getting a lot of air. I'm not in a small room. I'm in a wide open world, and I don't feel confined. I feel like I have room to walk around and to keep myself busy and to get the air that I need. Another thing is to take a shower. Taking a shower helps me take my mind off of it. Usually I'll turn on music if I'm really deep into it. I have Mike come and sit in the shower, the bathroom with me, and just kind of talk to me while I take a shower, so that, I'm thinking of the things he's telling me and the things that I'm telling him, instead of thinking about my anxiety and my panic attack. And I just, I'm busy doing what I do in the shower. I do my full routine. Even if I just showered 5 minutes ago, it's just a way to help me calm down and get out of it. Hand in hand with that is keeping yourself occupied. I like to, if I feel it coming on, I like to start doing laundry or start doing the dishes, clean my room, do things like that will take my mind away from it. I realize that if I sit down and turn on a show or go on my phone, I'm still really in my head and I won't get out of it. Plus, sitting down for me, and laying down for long periods of time kind of lead up to it, kind of work my way up to a panic attack. Keeping myself busy, reorganizing, doing things like that make you feel good mentally are things that really help me avoid it or help me get out of it when I'm in one. The last 2 things that I do during it is, 1, pets. I think pets are so important. I'm really seriously looking into getting a therapy dog because I feel like it would help me so much to just not really be alone, have someone with you that's trained to know what to do when you're getting yourself worked up, and knows. It's just, I feel like pets are such a calming energy, dogs or cats. I don't have a dog, I have a cat, and he really helps me when I'm going through it, just because I like to hold him, I like to pet him, I like his energy. The energy of animals is just more calming. They can't talk, they can't tell you hey, you're stupid, and they just want to give you love. So that's a great thing if you have anxiety or panic attacks. Just animals in general, and a cat works for me. I'm really looking into getting a dog because I love dogs. I think that would help me so much. But they're very important, I think. If you don't like animals, maybe a stuffed animal, but the animals really help me. The last thing is just remembering that it's anxiety. Like I said, if you think that it's something physical to the point where every time you get a panic attack, it's freaking you out, go get checked so that you know that it's not. But then during the panic attacks, you can know hey, look, I just got checked. I'm perfectly healthy. This is just anxiety. And it's something that you need to just keep repeating to yourself to really just get yourself out of it. And I feel like when you realize that it's just anxiety, it's just a panic attack, it's easier and shorter lived. Lastly, what I'm going to talk about is simple things to do in your everyday life to avoid the anxiety, to get away from it so that you don't get a panic attack later on at night or later in the day. And the number one thing that I need to do every morning when I wake up is I need to wake up and I need to make my bed. If I wake up and lay in bed for a long period of time, like say an hour or longer, it puts me in a bad headspace for the day. I just feel really unproductive. I feel lazy. I feel gross. And it's just not mentally good for me. When I wake up and make my bed, even if I go right back in it and lay down, it's still made and I still feel like I did something. Eating a good breakfast. I feel like being hungry and like not eating all day is something that leads to them too, because I'll get dizzy, and once I get dizzy I'm like, oh my god, this is a panic attack, and then I work myself up. So make sure you're eating, even though I know it's hard. Make sure you're eating, drinking water. One of my triggers is caffeine. That is a huge trigger for me, and it took me like a month to realize, because I love Diet Coke and I would just drink them nonstop. And so I had to cut caffeine, and once I cut caffeine, like my panic attacks like were cut in half. Like I was realizing that like I was getting them every time I drank a Diet Coke. And so caffeine obviously is like a stimulant. It gets your heart going, and your heart racing is never good for panic attacks and anxiety. So cutting caffeine was crucial to me. Even like I'm very sensitive right now. My panic attacks, like I said, are very intense. So even sugar sometimes can lead to it. So I drink the caffeine-free Diet Cokes, and even like the sweeteners in that, and like if I eat sweets, kind of gets me worked up, even though like I don't feel like I'm like more high strung. That kind of affects me too. So I try and pace myself with those things. I haven't completely cut them out. I just don't eat a lot of sweets in one sitting, or don't drink a whole soda. Maybe just drink half a soda or a quarter of a soda, like if I really need one and I want one. I'm not a coffee drinker. I've always been more like Diet Coke, energy drinks, that kind of person. I hate coffee, so I've definitely cut those out. But some more simple things that I do every day is I get dressed. Getting ready for the day is big for me, because I feel put together. I feel, again, like I'm being productive. And I feel like when I have my outfit on, I'm not in my PJs, it makes me want to get more done during the day. Like if I just sit in my pajamas all day, it makes me lazy. It makes me just want to lay on the couch. I feel kind of gross. But when I put on an outfit, I feel good about myself. It's a good mental thing. It's great to start your day off on a good note. And then another thing is like doing your hair, doing your makeup, like making yourself feel pretty. If your anxiety is more from like being self-conscious, that would be a great thing for you. I don't usually do that, because I usually just don't wear any makeup, wear my hair natural, because I hate taking it off. Today I curled my hair because I'm going out later. But yeah, if yours is more like self-conscious related, or you feel bad about your body after having a baby, things like that, doing your makeup, doing your hair are great things. It goes hand in hand with getting ready for the day. It makes you feel good about yourself. It makes you think that like maybe you look pretty. That's a good thing for your mental health. Another way to start the day or even end the day is yoga and meditation. I feel like it's really calming just to stretch. Like maybe you don't even necessarily have to do a full yoga routine. Just sit on the ground and stretch out your body. It feels really good. I like to do yoga and mentally just like try and get rid of all of the bad energy that I'm carrying and all of the things inside me that lead to panic attacks, and just kind of like expel it from my body and like do breathing and just keep myself calm. I like to do guided because I'm not very advanced in the meditation and yoga, so I like to either watch someone do yoga or listen to someone do a guided meditation. Those really help for me. I have a bunch of crystals. Those help with my anxiety. I know people don't believe in that stuff, but for me it works. For some people it might. I have salt lamps all over my room. I feel like it's just a really good energy and a really good thing to keep in your room to keep really good energy. And I have the crystals that I hold when I meditate, because I like to just keep things in my hand that have their own energy and kind of pull from them. Cleaning your room. when I have a messy room or a messy space, it just makes my mind messy. It makes me feel cluttered, not only like in my life but in my thoughts. So I always keep my room clean. Like I said, when you're having a panic attack, cleaning your room is a good way to get yourself out of it. Just having like an organized space is so important. Light some candles, open your window and get some fresh air in, wash your sheets, watch your bed. Those are like so important to me and making me have a good mental health and a good mental space. And then the last two things that I want to talk about before I end the video is starting a project. I feel like when I have something to keep myself busy, like I have a picture that I'm drawing, I have a picture that I'm painting, and I'm not artsy. So don't think that like you can only do these things if you're creative and artsy. I literally Google images and find one that I like and just try and recreate it, even if it's terrible. I try and just, have something that's ongoing that I can come back to. Like every night I look forward to finishing my picture, coloring, doing a puzzle, things like that, playing a new game, stuff like that. It's just like a good way to unwind, and it's a good way to keep yourself busy, tire yourself out at night so that you'll just go to bed and maybe not think about anxiety drawing thoughts. Think about your puzzle or your activity that you're working on and just like go to sleep peacefully. The last thing is, I don't know if it will work for everyone, but for me it works. I love to have things to look forward to. I feel like I have good days and I don't get panic attacks on days that I have things to look forward to. So like even if it's as simple as like ordering something off Amazon, like tracking it and like getting excited to get it in the mail is something that helps me. Like I just get excited to come home to a package, come home to something new. Getting rid of things helps me because I feel like it's in a way getting rid of some of like the bad in me mentally, like getting rid of old clothes that I don't use, getting rid of clutter, decluttering, and then just like planning things. Like when I know that like me and Mike have a date night or that we have a night out with our friends, the whole day like I'll just be really excited. I won't be nervous, I won't have anxiety. I'll just be like excited to go and see the people that I love. If it's like a family party or like some kind of event that like I'm not like comfortable with and I can't be myself, that's when I get anxiety. So I'm not talking about in that sense, but planning things that like you love to do. Like me and Mike love to go to dinner, we love to go to the movies. So things like that don't get me too anxious. Sometimes being there does, being around a lot of people, but I just try and plan during the day when the least amount of people are going to be there, or going places or that don't have too many people, or if there is a lot of people that I love. So that's all I can say. Most important is seeing a doctor, getting on medication if that's something that you need. That's not something that everyone needs. Some people just need to learn those techniques to help them get out of it. But thank you so much for watching. I know that this was a really long video, but it was really important to come on here and share my story, not only for myself, but for people that are going through this right now. Like I said, my DMs, anything, my messages, my comments, they're always open. And I'm the least judgmental, probably calmest person to talk to. So reach out to me if you don't have anyone else, or even if you just have questions, reach out to me. And I hope that everyone going through this comes out of it even more beautiful than they came in, because I know at the end of the day that this is something that I'm going to grow from, and that's the only thing that I can be grateful for this. I'm going to grow from this, I'm going to get stronger from this, and I'm going to be a better person because of this, because like I said before this, I never experienced anything. So I couldn't really relate that much to even Mike and people that like go through stuff like this on a daily. Now that I'm going through it, I understand, and I understand how terrible it is. I understand ways to help people. And that's the most important thing. And that's like, if there's anything to take from this experience and this like terrible journey that I've been on, then it's that I'm just going to get stronger and I'm going to be better from it. So thank you everyone that has helped me in these moments that I've had anxiety, or has talked to me through this, or who has just given me love. Even if you don't know and you just give me love and you're just a constant positive person in my life, I thank you. And you are the people that help me get through it. And I love all of you so much. Thank you for watching this video. And I hope that you all have a lovely day and a lovely life.